Yes, you read the title correctly. Today we are interviewing Steve Burns, the man who founded Workhorse, who founded Lordstown Motors, the CEO of Lordstown Motors. It is a juicy video. What is happening, investors? It is your boy Jack. I am not a financial advisor. I got the clothing line to prove it. Today we have one of the most exciting videos, probably the most exciting video we ever have had the pleasure of putting onto this channel. We speak all things Lordstown Motors with Steve Burns today. It was an absolute honor to have him on the channel. I have so much respect for this man, as a lot of you guys I'm sure do as well. Genuinely, a lot, and I mean a lot, of juicy information in this video. You do not want to miss it. Can I please ask you to hit that juicy like button for me before this video starts, guys? Especially if you want to see me doing more interviews with different companies going forwards. If you're new around here, hit that juicy red subscribe button and join the family. And drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the video, guys. Trust me, it is juicy. I don't want to waste any of your time. It's a long video. Let's get into it. So, investors, here we are. We have the man, Steve Burns, on the screen with us today. This is insane, guys. I mean, we speak about Workhorse and Lordstown Motors a lot on this channel. This is the man. This man here is the reason they both exist, so we all owe a lot to him. So, Steve, thank you so much for coming on to the channel today.
Sure, Jack.
That's cool. So obviously today we're going to be chatting all about Lordstown Motors. It's been an absolutely insane month for investors in particular. I'm sure you guys have been up the walls in general.
Yeah, we've been busy. You know, standing up a car company from scratch. It's a lot.
I can imagine. And I suppose that's as good a place to start today as any. So yeah. One thing that's always interested me personally, why you decided to create the brand new company for the endurance pickup truck. You know, why Lordstown Motors was created, I suppose. If you could just give a little backstory on the company.
Yeah. Well, when I was at Workhorse, we were doing kind of all things electric, right? We were doing UPS trucks. We had a W15 pickup truck prototype. We had a flying machine called the Surefly, an electric flying machine. And that was just getting a little too diverse for a smaller company. So I left and formed a company specifically to do pickup trucks.
Yep.
And the technology had changed so much from the time we invented the W15. It was a hybrid.
Yeah.
So we felt batteries were strong enough. We could go full electric. And we wanted a little cooler look and a little lighter and a lot of changes. So we bought a factory, right? That's really the genesis of the story is, you know, a few people have bought used factories from car companies, right? Tesla famously bought one from GM Toyota out in California, but almost always they're stripped. Right? Yeah. The company that sold them can use all those robots and all that stuff elsewhere. Here, though, we were able to work with General Motors and buy it completely intact. So we have this factory that's been making north of 400,000 Chevy Cruises a year. Right? So I think it's the third largest factory in the nation.
Yes.
So I mean, 6 million square feet. Just to put that in perspective, that's 108 football fields on the roof. So it's immense, and it's fully stocked. It's got almost 2,000 robots in it. Right?
Yeah, that's
quite
insane.
Something. So we're kind of a startup culture, but with the heavy assets of a conventional OEM.
Yeah.
I think that mix somewhere between Silicon Valley and Detroit, you know, we're about in the middle there. And I think it's the right recipe.
Okay, that's very cool. That's perfect. I think that's what a lot of us thought in the first place anyway. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely going to speak more about that plant later on, because that's massive. That is absolutely massive. But the first thing I really want to speak about is actually the pre-order growth. And I mean, when I found out about it, I screamed my house down. I mean, my mom and dad were like, what's going on? You know, what's actually happening here? I was that excited about it, because I had been speculating that obviously, you know, you're not publicly traded just yet. We're still waiting for the merger, etc. So it wasn't all public information what's happening. And then it came out and there was this massive buzz. So we knew you already had 27,000 pre-orders with an average order size of about 300 trucks. And so the first thing is, I think one of the things that you have going for you is we're targeting fleets rather than the everyday person like me.
Yeah.
So I'm still wondering if it's something you can speak about in regards to the pre-orders. Are they still predominantly coming from fleets, as we knew beforehand, order size of about 300 trucks? Or
yeah. Well, they do come in big chunks. That's the nice thing about fleets. But really, we're doing fleets because these local fleets that, you know, it could be a police a police cruiser, it could be a municipality, it could be a florist, it could be a landscaper, a delivery person. So these folks that use their vehicle almost exclusively locally,
Yep.
They drive 60 or 70 miles a day, and we give them 250 miles of range. So they're not out looking for infrastructure charging, even though we can charge at any of the normal chargers. So it's a good fit. Now, imagine if Ford came out with a Ford 150 and they said, we bent the laws of physics and we developed a new Ford 150 that got 75 miles per gallon, right? You'd probably be fired as a fleet manager if you didn't buy that vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And what occurred to us is we are sitting here with a 75 mile per gallon pickup truck.
Okay.
So obviously it's very attractive to fleets, right?
Yeah.
And but we even went further. We didn't want to put an asterisk on it. We didn't want to say it gets 75 miles per gallon, but
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure it could haul and tow and off-road and all the things people expect from a modern-day pickup truck. And so we built it to do all that, and we got a prototype now. So those pre-orders you were talking about, most of those came before we even had a pre-order, right? The attraction or the carrot of a 75 mile per gallon vehicle was so strong that we started getting pre-orders. Now with the prototype, like we're out in California, I think we just went through Vegas, we're on our way to Denver with the prototype, visiting fleets. And the reception is, when you can drive it, see it, feel it, and see it in three dimension. It's the pre-orders we're trying to figure out how we can accommodate. The pre-orders are way more than we thought. Right? So we, normally the problem in a startup is if you get surprised by too many orders, how do you buy more robots and do that? We've been trying to kind of find a 400,000 vehicle factory and make less with it. So it's not as hard of a problem going up when you're already up here. So we're trying to figure out how to do more.
Cool. Very cool. It's not a bad complaint to have, getting all of these pre-orders.
They say it's a good problem. Yeah.
It's
still hard, but it's a good problem.
Awesome. That's excellent. Cool. Next thing I want to speak about, the 4 hub motors. Genius. I mean, genius. And I think it's one of the things that people don't appreciate enough. It's an EV stock. There's a lot of rage right now. You have to find what makes the company different. And I think this is pretty much, in my opinion, the biggest thing. And I don't think enough people appreciate it yet. But it just makes so much sense. Okay, so I suppose one thing I have to ask about them is, do you ever plan on selling the use of this technology? Or is it going to be exclusive to Lordstown? And on that topic, does Lordstown have many patents in regards to it? Yeah,
well, obviously we're going to use it for the endurance first, but all our first couple of vehicles are all going to be built on that same platform, right? Yeah. So we will use it internally, but I've seen some of these earlier startups say, hey, we've got a great electric vehicle design. All we need is a skateboard, right? Factory to build it. So, maybe we might branch out besides our own, let other people use it. Right now, we're just maniacally focused on the endurance, right? Yeah. Getting that out. But just for some of your viewers that might not know what a hub motor is, I always describe it as, the Lime or Bird scooters that you see in all the cities, right? Those kind of just descended upon the world with one innovation that happened, right? It wasn't the batteries. The batteries had been there for a while. It was the hub motor, right? So if you think about those scooters, you don't see a motor down by your feet with a sprocket and a chain going back to drive the rear motor, right? Yeah. And once you say that, people are like, yeah, you're right. Where is the motor? So the motor is in the wheel. And in our case, upsizing those and having 4 giant hub motors. So 4 moving parts, right? Versus 2,000, right? When you look at a conventional, and again, I'm not picking on Ford, of course, nobody can pick on Ford. Yes. But the Ford 150 in America is the #1 selling vehicle. Yeah. So just kind of using that as a prototypical 4-wheel drive pickup truck. You have an engine up front running at 1 speed, right? Trying to mechanically route power to 4 wheels, right? Yeah. And the 4 wheels have to spin at different speeds, right? And so the innovation for traction control that came out a while ago for conventional vehicles is if a wheel starts slipping in mud or snow or for whatever reason, I had to brake it. I can slow it down by automatically braking it, right? Applying the friction brakes. Hugely wasteful, not very efficient. Think of it as a computer with an encoder and a very reactive motor on each wheel. And the computer just brings it right to the point where it's breaking loose, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly we, on version 1.0, as a new automaker, we can say we have better traction than a Ford 150, right? Now, the pickup truck was invented 95 years ago, right? And it's got to be the most human endeavor, the most engineered thing on the planet, right? The hours in those 95 years that have gone into perfecting that vehicle, which has resulted in a very robust vehicle. But it gets 15 miles per gallon after 95 years, right?
Yes.
And so we getting 75 miles per gallon equivalent, we knew fleets would want a 75 mile per gallon pickup truck, but would they want it enough to buy from an new OEM, right?
Yeah.
And if we were only 10 or 20% better than the regular, I think that wouldn't be the case. But when you're 500% better, it's enough of a push. So we feel that it's the most economical, and obviously it's the greenest, right? But it should be the safest pickup truck ever made and have the best traction, and kind of something that's a little squishier, and it's kind of a gut feel, but it handles better. I've been driving the prototype, and I typically say it drives like a sports car. I had to figure out how to say that a little more articulately, but it's fascinating. It handles so well. When you have the software controlling those four corners and you have weight literally on the ground, right? It sticks to the ground like a vacuum cleaner. So it's really really cool. So anyway, it's turned out better than we hoped.
That's amazing. That is cool to hear that. I could just imagine just cruising around in the prototype now into the plant, updating the pre-orders. Happy days. That's cool. And so I suppose on the topic of the vehicle itself, we're working with quite a few people. GM for non-customer facing parts, Samsung, I believe, for battery tech, and then Good Tires, quite evidently, for the tires. Is this all essentially to ensure that you can be first to market? Because I know now having this massive plant, having to work with all of these people, and then I suppose could you expand on just how important it will be for the company to be first to market?
Yeah, well, I think first mover advantage, everybody's seen Tesla, right? Yes. They were first with sedans, and first in a lot of firsts. But I think Tesla has an uncatchable lead in consumer sedans, for example, right? Yeah. They have so many miles, so much experience, and they are not standing still. They're innovating, continuously. We want to do that in the truck field, right? Yeah. Trucks are trucks because they're so different than cars, right? So that now in the U.S., 74% of vehicles sold are SUVs and pickup trucks, right? That's all anybody's buying over here, and so this body on frame that we have, right? These are the larger SUVs, the Jeep-like vehicles, pickup trucks, both the mid-size and the full size. The Endurance is the full size, kind of the most popular configuration of pickup trucks. Yeah. But we will do all configurations of pickup trucks and a nice SUV shortly. But it's that first mover advantage. We should have a couple years where we're the only ones out there, and we're gaining all those miles and all those customers' input, and the big data that comes from all the sensors taking in all the data, and you just use all that to refine your product. And if we're lucky, we will get a lead that should be difficult to catch.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the fact that you brought up what Tesla did, as you said, with sedans. Even it's like that first to market, it brought them so much, and that's why everybody goes on about how far ahead our technology. And I think it is because of what you just said. It's because they've been on the roads. There's been vehicles on the roads. Every one of those is feeding back information, and it's almost impossible to catch up. No matter who you are, how much money you have, like you cannot buy the time that has gone into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes I say the expression that sometimes you can't put 9 women on the job and have that baby in a month, right? Some things just take 9 months, no matter how many people you put on it. So yeah, it is very difficult to catch them. But again, a truck is just a completely different animal, and we just want to really be the best at trucks.
That's awesome. I think we're on good track. We're on good track, especially with, as we said, that first to market advantage. That sounds sick. And then I suppose, very quick one, do you have any plans on releasing any more products down the line, even heavy duty trucks or other fleet related or work related designs? Or right now, are we just laser focused?
Well, we're laser, the skateboard, as they say, right? We are going to put an SUV on that skateboard.
Sick.
We're also going to, within the endurance, different cabs, no back seat, smaller back seat, different size beds. So we will do all the typical configurations. What we decided to do with the endurance was not reinvent the top of it, right?
Okay.
That has been refined where fleets weren't complaining about the bed size or the cab size, right?
Yeah.
We give them access to the big battery so they can run their generators on site or their power tools. Yeah. We give them a big frunk. So maybe they don't need that toolbox in the back that takes up bed space. So we do a lot of things that fleets like. For example, our dash is pretty minimalistic, very Model 3 like. But a lot of our customers are going to be getting in with gloves, and so we make sure everything will work with gloves. Okay. So we have to have a few knobs in there, just geared towards our target market.
That's
but
yes.
The SUV will be still geared towards fleets, but might be government use, might be, company cars for people, that sort of thing.
Interesting.
But it's still fleet based.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. I love that everything will stay consistent and that you're not trying to reinvent the wheel as such. It's just making the improvements that everybody needs, really. Awesome.
Well, with the hub motors, we are reinventing.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, quite literally reinventing the wheel.
Yes.
That was
some of the parts we're buying, like the seats, for example, right? Seats are very complicated. They're part of the restraint system. They take a lot to do a good seat. So we are purchasing our seats, and so we decided not to reinvent the seat, right? Because nobody was complaining about the seat, right? So we just focused on making something that for example, when I say we're going to crash test better than a Ford 150, again, when I say these things, I understand the bar is unbelievably high, right? Yeah. With what a modern day pickup truck is. But we don't have a V8 there, right? Up in front. We don't even have a frame mounted electric motor and differential like a Tesla would be, right? Yeah. So there is nothing down the middle of the vehicle. So it's got a lot of crush, right? Crush is what saves your life in a crash, right? So we should crush. We have more crush than anybody else. So we intend to be the safest, right? And just things like that, when you start with a clean sheet of paper, and although it looks like a pickup truck from the outside, and we did that, again, not reinventing what people are happy with. Now, Tesla went the other way, right? And by the way, utmost respect, of course, we're all standing on the shoulders of Tesla, right? Yep. But when they went with the Cybertruck, they decided to reinvent the top part of the truck as well, right? Yeah. That's the crash testing of that, making it strong enough yet soft enough to crash, and all the problems or new science that has to come out. We're in our effort to get there first, and knowing that our customers are kind of conservative by nature, their fleets. So let's go with known science of how these things crush. Yeah. Let's go with body on rail and not reinvent what we don't have to reinvent.
It makes perfect sense. It's just reinventing everything that you guys need to be perfect and then keeping what's already very good there. No time wasted.
That's another expression we use all the time. Let's not let perfect get in the way of the good, right? Perfect, nobody will ever achieve perfection. But, again, I was a little, you can engineer everything except feel, ride feel. Yeah. And as we tweaked that a little bit, it was just, it's so exciting to drive a fast, quiet, good handling pickup truck. Yeah. It's really cool.
I can imagine.
And I don't know if fleets buy on cool, but fleet workers or drivers are people too.
Yeah, it helps.
And if we can make them happy driving in their job, I think it helps.
It's better than a feeling uncomfortable hopping all over the place. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Definitely. Now, that's cool. That's really cool. Okay. I suppose briefly earlier we spoke about the plant a little bit. And one thing I want to ask is in regards to the reconfiguring of the plant. Is that underway? Because like I assume it doesn't even really need to happen for a very long time. You know what I mean? Considering the state it's already in.
No, to be, well, we're reconfiguring. So you're reprogramming all the robots,
Yeah.
right? We have to we have to have a jig that holds the part while the robot works on it, welds it or whatever the robot's going to do. Of course, our parts are different than a Chevy Cruze,
Yeah.
right? So different jigs and different programming for the robots. But we haven't had to buy one new robot,
Nice.
right? Which is cool. And we are, kind of the milestones are, we're in prototype. Then you build betas early next year,
Yep.
and then you crash those, and then one more tweak of the betas, and hopefully you're there. So we're digging into the factory heavy, doing all the reconfiguration right
cool.
now.
Very cool. Very cool. And so yeah, when it was by GM or whatever, and they said they were able to produce upwards of 600,000 vehicles a year by 2024. I believe the target's 107,000 for you guys. So one of the questions that I've been asked a lot on my videos is, would you guys ever want to rent out part of the factory? Because I understand it can't really be that simple either, because as you just said, robots do certain things. You know what I mean? It's not one robot fits all. I wonder, is that a thought that's ever crossed just as another revenue stream?
Yeah, early on it was, but given the pace of pre-orders, we're going to use it all.
Yeah.
The goal really is to have this humming more than it ever was on its best day when GM had it,
Okay.
right? And so we're going to fill it, because we have in addition to building the vehicles how you think of it, even the Chevy Cruze, this 6 million square foot plant, singularly focused on one vehicle, right?
Yeah.
But still in the back, a train pulled up and had a 4-cylinder engine and a transmission that took a whole city somewhere else to build those, right?
Yeah.
So we need battery packs and we need electric hub motors, right?
Okay.
So we are setting up lines inside of our factory to do those two tasks.
Okay.
So it's almost as if we're building our own engines and our own transmissions, if the counterpart in ICE world. So we're starting our own, basically gigafactory and motor line. And those require clean rooms and very delicate robots. So that is we have to do it because we have to control supply, quality, and cost. And as we get into solid state and all the advances in cells, we want to control the pack so we can incorporate those earlier than a traditional car company might. So, we have the extra onus of building the vehicle, and now these two extra lines of a battery line and a motor line.
That's amazing. Makes so much sense. And I think it may not be the answer that people were expecting, but I think it's a much better answer, realistically. It shows just how confident we are and how strong of a position the company's in. You know what I mean? To have, as you said, one of the biggest plants in the country, and it's more or less going to be at full capacity very shortly. That's really awesome. That is cool. One question people get mad at if I don't ask, it's just in regards to autonomy. People always ask this in EV. Is that something you guys are considering? Do you think you'd develop your own or just buy off the shelf at any stage?
Well, our customers per se, they're mostly moving people to a job site, right?
Yeah.
So it's autonomy isn't quite top of mind to them, but we are putting all the sensors in, and we have over-the-air updates, right? Okay. Now, we want to have automatic braking. We want to have safety features like that. The same sensors that would use for autonomous driving will be used for, applying the brakes in an emergency situation. Yeah. If you're drifting out of your lane, we want to either corrective steer or at least tell the driver. So we are shipping it with the components, and again, over-the-air updates, we can turn them on as desired. And as we get that functionality, we don't have full automatic driving functionality, obviously. Now, one thing we do in-house, everything, all software is in-house. Okay. We're really adamant that software is the secret sauce here, especially controlling those 4 hubs independently.
Yeah, I love that.
And all the infotainment, over-the-air, encrypted so nobody can, mess with that. So we think we're going to have some cool software updates down the road if fleets want them.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a
Awesome.
nice downward stream. It's a nice revenue stream after you sell the vehicle. If you can keep adding value via software,
Yeah.
and it's something you can bring revenue later.
That's something. Sure, you've seen Tesla do it. You know what I mean? Their software, the amount of money that will bring in through their regular cars, like. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense because it was one I thought they're not really going to need it at the end of the day, are they? But it's always nice to have the option.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
If you think of a life of a truck is 10, 15, 20 years, right? And thinking of it as upgradable, like we do our computer or our phones. My phone, I'm constantly getting an upgrade.
Yeah.
Right? Asking me, do you want an update on your phone? And I think these are very large computers on wheels, and we should update them over time and not just, they come out of the cookie press, that's it. And it stays like that for 20 years, right? So a lot of upgrades will happen, I think, over software.
Awesome. Really cool. One more thing I think I'm just more personally interested in than anything else is, do you still speak with the guys at Workhorse often? Because I know obviously there is a strategic relationship there, but I wonder, do you guys actually, just discuss things much, or just things like that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I speak to the CEO of Workhorse all the time.
Yeah.
We license some stuff from them.
Yeah.
They own 10% of us. Yeah. We have a very able-bodied factory. If they get to things where they need volume, if they get big orders, if they get the post office, I think we're going to be a great strategic asset for them.
Cool. I think so. I think that's what actually got a lot of people interested from my channel in particular, because we've been speaking about Workhorse for such a long time, and I can actually remember reading it. It was another time I absolutely screamed my house down. Like, my parents thought that something had gone horribly wrong. I'm not even joking. I was jumping around the place like a kid. But it was the fact that, again, Workhorse has that 10%, and I was just like, it just looks amazing, everything did. And then we get to the investor presentation, and from day one it was just really exciting, But so much useful information here. I won't take up too much more of your time. The last thing I want to say is, we look to be in a fantastic cash position from what we can tell, and especially now with what we're seeing with the increase in pre-order volume. Does it still stand that Lordstown should be absolutely fine through 2021 going into 22?
I'm sorry, what was the last question? I couldn't make it out.
Sorry, I was just saying cash position wise. So financials. Are we looking as good as we were, if not better, after the updated pre-orders?
Yeah, I mean, we don't we don't take funding from pre-orders, right? Yeah. We don't want anybody thinking we're living off of pre-orders. And by definition, pre-orders are pre-orders, right? Yeah. They're cancelable. So, but our funding is coming from, the reason we went via Diamond Peak SPAC is, if we want to be first to market, part of the thing has to come quickly is the funding. Yeah. So we've been able to attract, the big pipe, the pipe part of the SPAC deal, that had to be marketed to folks like Fidelity and BlackRock. Really, it's a very high-end deal. And we've been able to attract the strategic institutional investors that everybody wants. These are long-term minded folks. And so we really got a top shelf deal. General Motors is investing as well. So it's financially, it was oversold, right? So we took more than we had asked for because, well, A, a cushion in case we miss something, or B, maybe it pulls one of the newer vehicles forward and we come out with it sooner than we thought. But it was, again, to be oversubscribed and very top shelf folks like that, we really encourage that they got the story. And, the last piece I think everybody thought we needed was the financing, right? Yeah. And we got a great deal on a plant. Relative to what it would take, this plant is obviously a multi-billion-dollar plant. And to reproduce it and spend that CapEx, some of our competitors are saying, let's go asset light, right? Yeah. We don't need IP. We don't need intellectual property. We don't need to develop this. We don't even need a factory. Somebody else will do all that for us. We're the opposite. We are running towards manufacturing, right? The folks we have on the team that have done this before, right, at Tesla and Workhorse and Karma, they've put electric vehicles through all the regulatory and actually got them on U.S. roads. Once you get a taste for it, you love manufacturing, right? It's in the end, somebody must make these, and if somebody else is making them for you, it cuts into your profit margin. You can't make changes as quickly, right? You can't just say, okay, let's put another vehicle on that platform very quickly. So we don't want to be control freaks, but we want to control the big parts of our destiny, right? It's just like an OEM, a traditional OEM, right? They make their V8, right?
Yeah.
They don't sub that out to anybody else. That's a core technology. And we kind of feel the same way. We have to, the things that are really important, software, batteries, motors, chassis, we keep that in-house.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely love that, Steve. Well, that was pretty much all I had to ask you today, Steve. Genuinely, really appreciate you coming on, just as a personal fan as well. Really cool to get the opportunity to speak to you. And I think we got a whole lot of, as we like to say on this channel, juicy information there. So I think people are going to appreciate that massively, Steve. So just, again, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, Jack.
Perfect.
Good to meet you.
You too, man. You too. Have a good one. So, guys, there we have it. Wow, I mean, a lot of useful, juicy information in that video. It was such a pleasure and an honor to be able to speak with Steve. It was so much fun. I hope that you guys did enjoy and you got some value out of it. If you did, can I please ask you to hit that juicy like button? It really helps me out. And also, if you want to join my private community, hit the first link in the description and become a patron. Those guys actually knew this interview was happening before anybody else. So if you want to know the inside scoop on what videos are coming, hit that first link. With that being said, guys, I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. I will see you for tomorrow's video. Peace.